whole row.
What the heck? What's this showing?
I think if you go to the next slide, it'll go away. No, it's not. Yeah, it goes away.
Oh, okay. Good enough. All right. How's it going, everyone? My name is Louis. And well, I work on a little bit on decentralized stuff about 2 years ago. Working a bit on some of the projects I worked on, including a browser protocol that allow you to access decentralized network called HyperProxy. It's down now because Stefan cannot host it anymore. Because
Wait,
huh? What?
Brad.
Yeah. You destroyed the droplet. But anyway, so that's my background. I do know a little bit about, I've been reading paper on that protocol about 8 years ago, and then we went through a bunch of, working on some sort of project on top of those protocols, decentralized protocol. And I'm also pretty, not too active, but I do dabble and try to do as many social media apps as possible, because, try to diverse my portfolio with social media, besides just Twitter and Facebook, which, anyway. So the main topic of this talk is next generation social media and how we're gonna join them, or how to join them, right? Speaking about slide. Anyway, so the first thing though, before we do any social media is messaging. Everyone here probably using Discord, Slack, something like that. Well, you probably heard of IRC because all of you IRC kids probably know IRC. What is it? So you have the client, which is Kiwi IRC. We're recommending it. Kiwi. The interface is pretty okay, and you can use it on the web. If you want to host your own server, it's an Unreal IRC. Get it? Host your own server. Right? Pros, you can get your own server, and everyone can join. It's super fast because it's just text, no caching. I mean, if you want to, you can set up your server to cache stuff, but well, what's the point of it? The con is, well, the FBI is probably monitoring you, so gotta be careful what you say up there. And there's no encryption, right? It's IRC, everything in plain text, because it's easier to see and stuff. But yeah, for basic communication, IRC is totally fine. And even I think the Linux group at RIT probably use that. Ridlock. And then the next version of IRC now that we have seen is Riot, or the Matrix protocol. And what is it? Well, it's basically a protocol that does decentralized chat. Not decentralized, sorry, that's my bad. It should be distributed chat. Because it has a client just has a server. The server is now code modular now, and you can get that. You can set up your own server, code modular, and you can now have your own Matrix server that you can have other people join. And yeah, it has encryption, so you can totally DM other people and not worry about having the NSA spying you. You also have a history cache, so it actually has a giant caching layer on top of itself. So a lot of you have deployed Matrix, the protocol Matrix, on top of IRC, so that it can cache and grab the history of the IRC. So you can actually use Matrix to join IRC channel in order to have a persistent cache of the IRC. So yeah, I use it a lot because I don't want to have my IRC client run 24 hours to persist the history. So Matrix is like an awesome solution for that, at least from my end. You can actually, Kiwi actually persist some history, I think, but probably not a lot. And then, the main con is it's very slow. When you join an IRC, or when you join any channel at all, it's going to try to synchronizing the history of that channel. So it's going to take quite a while, and especially if you are going to, if the channel is encrypted, or if you chat with someone else is encrypted, and for example, you're trying to join from a different device, that device will now have to synchronize the key from the Matrix server or from the modular server, and try to grab, try to synchronize and authorizing that your account on the two keys so that your new device can join the same conversation. And when you do that, it has to go through every single private message and try to decrypt them. So yeah, it's super slow on that. And the main problem that I have this is maintenance of the server. So you just have the modular server, right? You probably have like maybe 1 or 2 guys in the bedroom trying to maintain a server and have someone else join them for fun and profit maybe. But you have to maintain it. A lot of people will have to maintain their own server if they want to have something. So It is very distributed. It is very awesome. You should use it. But there's a cost maintenance there, right? So anyone can basically, if anyone know who is the guy who's hosting this Matrix server, right? He can tell the launch a DDoS server, a DDoS on that to censor maybe some guy, some group that happened to host, the channel on top of that server. Never know, but it's a cost. Now let's move on to the next generation of social media. We have microblogging. So what is microblogging? Twitter, right? Text something and send online, everyone will read it. So Twitter is a huge example for centralized kind of infrastructure for the social media. But then we have Mastodon. So Mastodon is kind of a distributed Twitter. And by that, I mean, right, it has all the features of a Twitter. You can post stuff on top of the Mastodon network, and everyone will see that. And it's just, a block of text with maybe some images with a limited amount of text. So it's literally Twitter on top of the distributed network. The cool thing about Mastodon, right, is you can, it's a DIY server. So you can set up your own Mastodon server and have other people join your server. And then, by the distributed nature of Mastodon, using a concept called federated server, you can actually join other people's server using the account you have on a certain server. So for example, if I set up a server called server A, and Stefan set up a server B, and I have an account on my server called, lab at server A, and Stefan has an account, Stefan at server B, I can actually use lab at server A to join Stefan's server without having to make another account on top of the server, because these two servers are federated. So they basically, they adhere to, the server structure adhere to the same kind of authorization protocol, so that the user from one server can actually join another server and talk on that server, and they can intercommunication. So it's pretty interesting. But what's the cost? The cost is still that. The server maintenance is still fucked. You still have to maintain the server, and this actually happened. There's a problem happened recently with one of the network that is focused on state worker. So there was a Mastodon server that focused on for state worker and all the activists on the live state work, and a botnet was launched on that server, and they were down for quite a while, and because there's only 3 people hosting a server, right? nobody can help them, and the server went down, and they have to wait until the bot stopped to run it back it up.
So I want to go back to the federated stuff. So if I have an account, are you going to talk about it now, or?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. So the federated stuff is called Fediverse. What's it mean? It's basically federated universe, and by that, so Mastodon implemented a thing, and it called something. Hey, Hector, can you remind me of that?
Activity pub.
Activity pub. Thank you. So yeah, it's basically the protocol that allows you to share activity on top of all of these networks. And so it's a user that's registered on top of one of the server that implement the same protocol, right? Then they are allowed to, because the protocol is the same, so the message structure should be similar, that allow that person or the account itself to be able to transfer and communicate on top of the server that implement the same infrastructure.
It's kind of like, if you think of it like email,
It's precisely email.
the email protocol, right, can be used by different software implementations. And ActivityPub is essentially the protocol for distributed social media.
So like server A doesn't know your post on server B. It just knows how that you are you.
Well, so you have to know that
No,
it will know there's a server B, because when you join it, it will actually try to talk to the server B so that it can get information from you.
Oh, so
So
server
that way-
A is talking to server B to
Yes.
get your previous
They
posts.
have real-time updates, like it'll send activities to your inbox,
Who
So-
does though?
the server.
What's
If
the
you-
server?
So, okay, so you have, let's say that you have server, mastodon.com, and it wants to talk to mastodon.net. And you have user A on mastodon.com and user B on mastodon.net. User A will follow user B, meaning that they send a message to mastodon.net saying, I want to subscribe to their feed, kind of like an RSS feed, almost. And then, so anytime user B posts a new status, Mastodon.net will federate that status by sending it to the inbox of user B. It'll just communicate from the server, and this all happens in real time.
Wait, but like, so is there like always some socket connection to that server?
Not necessarily,
Is
but
it like polling or is
it's
it?
open fairly often. They
Look
just,
at the server communicate with each other.
it doesn't really matter. The servers just communicate with each other. They ping each other whenever they have updates.
I will come back to this later. So I will talk more about infrastructure of that, which is tightly connected to the servers and the infrastructure. But let's move on. So the next one is Friendica, which is distributed Facebook. It has all the functionality of a Facebook kind of social media, where you can post a longer post, post pictures, basically a longer post for micro blogging.
It's a really bad.
Has the exact same problem with Mastodon, basically. What?
Has a really bad name.
Oh, Friendica? Yeah. It's actually friendly.ca. The server,
Oh.
the project is in Canada. I don't know, but there's a lot of German people on top of this network. The funny thing about this network though is a lot of hippies on here. A lot of hippies on here. So you
what?
can see some interesting stuff. A lot of hippies.
What?
A lot of
Hippies.
hippies.
Oh, hippies.
People who literally post stuff about like I don't know.
Okay.
So there's a guy who was like doing like farming shit, and he decided to go to Brazil and with his entire family and abandon everything and sleep on the farm, and he updated on his friendly page, and he hosts a server there too, and it's like, damn, this guy's crazy. But it's cool though. He posts about everything, everyday life, right? He goes, oh shit, today I'm farming some shit. I'm like, wow, you're farming shit, huh? That's pretty cool actually. And then he actually invited people, who might be interested to join from San Francisco or wherever, to come join his family for whatever, maybe he wants to do some farming, sure. Because the guy bought a huge block of land, for to enjoy his land. Yeah, good for him. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting people on top of this social media actually, and you find the same. Actually, yeah, Friendica seems to be a huge community of people who do like about to retire, and then they don't want to. They're trying to separate from the from the noisy world. So and Facebook is too noisy of them, so they decide to choose a social media that a little bit quiet, but they can also spread the word. So that's kind of like the vibe I felt with Friendica, and a lot of German people are on Friendica. A lot of German server. That's what I noticed too. On Mastodon, the main demographic I found is definitely a lot of artistic people, artists. Probably one of the main reasons why people who are into like the biggest server is like the Stakeworker server, I think, or the third one, the third biggest. And then beside that, like programmer, and then mainly people who are into like all of that entertainment stuff.
According to my experience, the main demographic of Mastodon is now queer, furry communists.
Yep. Definitely.
What?
Yes.
Anyway,
Sounds
When
like
you say
Tumblr.
furry, you're referring to like furry for like.
anyway, go back to the main problem. So before I dive deeper into distributed and decentralized, I would like to use torrent terminology to make it more simpler. I found this analogy very helpful when I think about distributed versus decentralized. So because everyone kind of uses torrent, and if you have ever used torrent, you probably might understand this concept. So if we have A, he's a leacher, don't be A. You have B, who is the guy who uploaded the file originally, and you have C, he's a seeder. So the flow is B has a file and he shared it to everyone online on torrent, and C happened to found B on a tracker, some DHC tracker, right? Any torrent tracker out there, and he downloaded the file for B. And then once C downloaded the file, he now has the entire file, and he decided, okay, I will also contribute to the community. So he decided to seed the file. So he's also now another uploader in this pool of people who are uploading the file. And then A come over and he said, okay, here's the file, I want to download it. Let's download it. So the guy just downloaded the two files from the pool, which is could come from B, come from C. And once A done downloading though, the guy did something that's very bad. He just cut off the connection, and he decided to not seed it. And basically, people say he's a leecher, or another word is an asshole, because he didn't contribute anything to the community, and he just take the file and run away. So, yeah, basically that's basically kind of the terminology that I want to establish here. So don't be a leecher in a torrent kind of a network, because people will ban you tracker will probably ban your IP if there are too many leechers in the same IP. Yeah. So you might ruin your entire house from torrenting if you leech too much. So be warned. Because the tracker actually track it. A lot of VPN these days don't really let you to do torrenting now. Only some server in Canada maybe, in Belgium or Hong Kong maybe. But
Isn't it supposed to be like they keep track of a ratio of downloaded
Yep.
to uploaded?
Yep.
And so then if the ratio was less than 1, then you're a leecher, but if it's greater than 1, then you're a seeder.
yeah, because eventually even if you download if you don't have a little bit, I think even every sort of client now also upload a little bit.
So if you have just absolutely 0 upload, then it's pretty bad. But like if you have, 0.5 or whatever ratio, then it's still not considered terrible.
Yeah,
I
well,
guess.
you do want to reach about, right? So the ratio is 0 to 1, so you want to stay above 0.5 probably.
No, the ratio can be any rational. It can be any value.
No, I'm talking about the ratio between leech and download, right? Or seed.
I mean, for like an individual user, if they download 10 gigabytes and then people download 20 gigabytes from them,
Oh yeah,
it's
they
a
did.
ratio of 2.
They did.
But you mean like the proportion of seeders to leechers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How do we make a tracker?
Oh, how you host a tracker? You
Yeah.
literally just download. I think it should be a torrent server or the tracker server infrastructure. I have not dived into that, but it should be open source. So yeah, grab that, set up the server, and now you can basically become a tracker that everyone can use to track the certain here and whatnot.
So how do people just trust a certain tracker
Repeat the question.
when determining if like a leecher is, or determining leechers and seeders?
Uh-huh.
Do people just trust a certain tracker is not lying about it?
Well, yeah, because the tracker has a lot of peer. So if the tracker lie, it will lie to everyone. Then
Yeah.
if the structure will, if it lie, then there's no point for it to lie because it's a decentralized, it's a distributed
It
network.
doesn't gain much from lying.
Yeah, it doesn't really gain anything
There
because
were like honeypot trackers for a while.
yeah.
What is that?
Like the government would set up a tracker to
Oh,
see who
yeah,
was.
who's using it, right?
Yeah, but I don't know.
You don't want to do that.
Got too much
Okay,
out of
so
that. really.
what does this apply
Yeah.
to?
So we set the terminology to talk about distributed. So here's a Wikipedia link for you to read and whatnot. So into a distributed network, I think of them as torrent remote leader consider. That's kind of when I think about that. And the reason why because let's say A, B, and C are a seeder, or the people who host in the lab, right? They basically the hoster, or in Fediverse they are the server that's hosting the server for people to use. And then D, E, and F are the client or the user of that specific network of Mastodon or Phonica. So D join A, E join B, and F join C. So Stefan, to answer your previous question, in general life. So A, B, and C are communicating with each other, and they are the main server. They are basically the powerhouse of this system, where they host the data that they need. And D, that's join A, can now actually talk to F, by talking to A and the A server synchronize with C, so that F can now see stuff from D if F follows D.
So like the initial like entrance to this network was with A, so
Yeah.
now A will always be its like person, like it's the server that
Yeah,
it
of
will-
course. Yeah.
But then how does,
Because A, B, and C are connected.
right, well like A could just lie.
Well, it's a server though. It could lie technically, yes. It could, yeah. That's true though. A government can literally attack A, B, and C because they're the server, right?
And then if you have a graph of nodes, and you have like edges here, and you control all of those, now you've basically lied to
Yes.
the whole network on the left. Right?
Yes, you will actually lie everything. So every server, for example, if A is compliant, and there's a bunch of users in A, right?
Yeah.
And then, for example, E supplies to D, for example, and A suddenly got compromised, and someone, managed to get a hold of A and tweak every single data, I hope there's some encryption. I have not looked too deep into the protocol yet.
Is the graph like fully connected? Like every node
No.
has to, okay, so yeah,
No,
that's not.
only A, B, and C are connected because
Okay.
they're the host.
I'm sort of.
D, E, and F are client. They have the browser.
I
So,
really should be.
but yeah, if D is compromised or the entire A server is compromised, F will
I
see anything
like
or will see wrong stuff from
Right.
F
Oh, okay.
or from D or from anything from
I
server
didn't
A.
like this.
So that's why it's actually possible to censorship to explicit censorship in the network, right? Because you can literally, if you know the server, you can launch a DDoS attack on any of the server and basically disable it. So nobody can now read stuff from it. So you technically censor it now. So
How do they discover each other?
yeah, each of these ABCs, or you're talking about the
Yeah,
client.
ABC.
So ABC implement the same protocol, right?
But like, how do they know each other's IP addresses?
Oh, they don't have to, because so D will find, so the D, right, D is a person,
Yeah,
he serves the net, he happens to find F, right?
I've been to find app.
Yeah, he happens to find F or happens to find the server, he is serving the web, because this entire network is running on top of the internet, right? So C, A, B, and C has a certain kind of host, right? It's like Google.com, so A is Google, C is Facebook, and oh shit, using along. But so each of them has a host name, right? So D is serving the net, and he stumbled upon Facebook.com. Well, he thought, oh, I like F, so I'm gonna follow F. So the moment he follow F, he tell his server, hey,
Oh, okay.
hey, I want to follow F from server C. And that's how A will subscribe to that F guy from C. And because they're doing the same protocol, A can now fetch data from C and show it to you.
How is the ability to the servers in terms of like money, like help them on?
No, these are all volunteer. Yeah, usually these networks always volunteer run and donation run. Yeah, there's no. Yeah,
How do they sustain their computation cost?
well, they have to pay for it, and yeah, there's really no there's no in the majority. There's really not a lot of incentive because people. Right, the goal of these people who set up the server is so that they can share information more than trying to make the profit from the information stuff. Because right, if you try to make a profit of that, then you become Facebook anyway. Okay, right. So, yeah, there's not a lot of mechanism to make money on top of this, but mainly just a way to share data between these machines. Okay, let's move on. Decentralized. Here's a Wikipedia page if you want to read more of it. So using the same terminology that we have, a decentralized network is actually a total network with a very well-balanced Cedar ratio. Why? The reason is because a lot of these decentralized networks, they enforce you to contribute the same amount before you can even use the network itself. So, for example, right, if you are using blockchain not without a service, right? There are two ways to use Bitcoin, right? One way is that you use a wallet online, which is a service, which they have a blockchain on that service that allows you to access it. So that would be a distributed system, but we will not talk about that. But in a decentralized network, it's assuming you want to connecting to the blockchain, right? You must download the entire blockchain before you can use it, and you also have to serve it to other people too, right?
I feel like you just have these two terms reversed. The way that I typically have seen them used, at least, decentralized refers to the first one, and distributed refers to this one.
No, I've actually seen
Well,
decentralized as this
I don't
one.
think, the reason why I don't agree with that, because distributed means that you have a server though, right? In a distributed network, usually the client connects to a server, and the client actually are not setting up their own server.
No, it's just like if you look on the Wikipedia page, it should have a picture, right? Which look at decentralized
Yeah,
networks.
distributed network.
But
And go to Wikipedia.
there's no,
Just do
it's
it
like
on
the same one
just
as you
do
just
Google.
went to.
Google has it.
There should be pictures somewhere. I think it's just look at decentralization
Yo, Louis,
on
I
Wikipedia.
googled distributed everything and I got a picture of stuff. If
Mhm.
you Google it, so forego your privacy for 1 second.
Wow.
All right.
Okay, look. Yeah, like one of the middle two pictures.
This one?
No, right? Or yes, that.
That?
Yeah, either of those.
Mhm.
I think that clearly shows that you have them reversed.
Damn. It seems that's the case.
Wait, but in this picture that I'm looking at, it's different.
Wait, let me see.
Right, like there's servers and they're all like fully connected.
No,
Right.
that's not good enough.
But that's like saying
Like there needs to be a comparison between distributed and decentralized.
Wait, go.
Stop clicking on so much stuff.
Yeah,
Go back to.
Yeah,
This one shows that.
it's the same
Yeah.
thing. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, it is, yeah, it's surprising.
See,
Alright.
decentralized just means that there's no, one node in the middle, but distributed means that there are no nodes with a very high degree.
TIL.
Wait. But then, so would it be that the Mastodon and whatnot,
Yes, those are decentralized, and the ones that you really want to talk about, I believe, are more fully distributed.
Is like Bitcoin fully distributed?
This
Not
complex
really in
question.
theory. Well, in theory, yes, but not really.
hmm.
Like, there are different degrees. It's a matter
We're gonna
of,
cover like mining and.
Mining's,
Probably
anyone
later.
can join it, but
but yeah, like, I
it's
was just
not, it's
thinking of
more
that picture, and
decentralized,
that
not distributed.
is that kind of picture, it tells you
Yeah,
pretty
it's the
clearly.
exact picture that I drew up here.
So I think you just have those terms backwards.
Oh, all right. Well, let's finish. Let's continue with the talk, and
It's
then.
just important to be consistent.
One of the things though is the reason why I thought this was the case, or this how the graph looked like, is because when I use the network stuff, I thought that how it looked like. Because in Mastodon or in Frenica, it was a guy, a group would set a server, so other people join the server. Right? So it felt to me that it would be, like the client would join a certain server, and then the server can talk to each other, which would more look like that graph. And then in a decentralized network, you have that concept of peer-to-peer, in which you would get data from other people and then use it. So like you always have to share the same amount of data with the other guy or with your peer. So it looked to me, that's the thing though. One thing that I felt like that is kind of confusing is maybe could it be distributed networking and distributed network? The networking of it.
Well, that's
So I just saw a sentence, decentralized means that there is no single point where the decision is made. Distributed means that the processing is shared across multiple nodes.
right. So like distributed would be like a subset of decentralized, where it's like a stronger condition than decentralized. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
We can continue the talk.
Yeah. Anyway, I can just reverse it.
Just,
But yeah, let's continue.
just continue. Yeah.
Anyway, so go back to the component of decentralized protocol. So here are all the components. I just ripped this off from the DAG protocol paper. So if you want to look more into them, then click YouTube. But the two main components I always kind of like think about is basically you always want to have a handshake, and you always want to have so handshake data and feed are kind of the two main components of this decentralized protocol. And well, it's pretty self-explanatory. With the feed, you can basically grab data from the protocol. With the handshake, you can now tell two clients to connect to each other through the protocol. And with data is what you send through the protocol. Synchronize the Git repository from your website, from your machine itself. And then right on top of what they have. So it allows you basically in this case with this shape that you can turn any folder into a DAG. which is into basically a Git repository that you can share, your file and the version of your file, and people can actually track through the history of your file and take a look at it, which is pretty interesting. That's how they do. You can do a bunch of interesting properties with that.
So,
And
so is that kind of similar to IPFS?
yes, it is
Cool.
very similar, but it's free, and there may be something else. There's some other stuff. Well, the API stuff. That's one thing I want to say.
The API
You don't like the IPFS API?
No, the DAT.
Or the DAT? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, they're improving it, and also they are more. They're trying to make it so that IPFS, the main hurdle of IPFS that I have now is you still need when I didn't talk last time on IPFS, did I?
Yeah.
And then the main hurdle was the freaking build for the client side. It was pretty crappy back then. With that though, they tried to rebuild it so that you can actually use you can actually have a virtual file system on top of your browser now with random memory access. They made that module called memory. So search for random memory access is the entire module to make a virtual file system on top of your browser, so that you can have a working DAP on top of your normal browser.
Cool.
So it's like, yeah. I don't know, but well, anyway, next. So our next social media, well, they call themselves Decentralized. So that's why, terminology. But yeah, Decentralized here is Rotondo, and here's a link. So, Rotondo.
I don't know.
Anyway, it's a peer-to-peer decentralized social media on top of the DAP protocol. The way they do this is every single time you tweet something, it become a Git commit. You commit a Git message on top to your DAP tab archive, and you send it, and you host it online. And then when you online, other people can discover you, and they can synchronize from your Git archive. And then based on the timeline, on the Git timeline and whatnot, I'm using Git because you probably know it, but it's not Git though. The payload is totally different. But it has the same type, it has everything for like a versioning system. So like, the commit hash, right, and then timeline, and then message stuff in the payload. So if you want to read more about that, right, then you can take a look at that protocol, the white papers on top of that, and it describes the entire protocol with every single component here, with every single payload that if you want to re-implement it. Or just use it, just use the library. They have been working hard at it. Now, the cool thing about this protocol, right? The cool thing about this project is everything is locally stored. So you basically synchronize. If you're following 10 people, for example, you basically are cloning 10 different repositories into your machine, and then the client is basically have to sort those information. So yeah, I have a Twitter feed, using Git. Kind of cool, right? Hey, maybe we implement that with Git. Try that. Then yeah. So the way the system works is sort of follow mechanism, which is basically cloning. So when you follow someone, you say, hey, I want to follow that Git archive. So every time you open this web app, it will literally just go through every single DAT archive that you want to subscribe to, and just reclone them, or just update them. And that's how it works internally. And it's actually, I think this project made in about a weekend or something, by one of the a guy named Neuronin.
Devin.
Kevin? No,
Yeah,
Devin.
Devin, right?
That's his real name, Devin, but I use his handle name. And the guy is now, he's selling now. He came from Canada, and he's on a boat with his wife, I think, and they just travel all over the place on the boat and make a game. Can you believe that? He just travel on the boat making Sony, the game has like art. So it's like black and white art. That's what I was talking about anyway. But yeah, the game has these kind of like black and white art with this with weird symbol and shit. And I kid you not, the guy he just posted something on Twitter 2 weeks ago, and he was making a freaking terminal to make music. So the programming language to make music on the terminal, and I'm like, this guy is insane. But he's pretty cool. Take a look at him and take a look at his project. He has a lot of stuff. But I think he's more of an artist than a coder, because I think a lot of his code kind of smell, maybe. The main problem with this project is that you need a special browser called Beaker browser. Yes.
So what about hyperproxy?
Yeah, maybe. We did sync, right? We did. We managed to sync. plot time. So hyperproxy is the project that Steph and I was working on that allow you to access that protocol by the proxy. The proxy is very much a server that we host.
So it's like, you can do it like.
So this goes through you guys.
You can do it like
No,
JavaScript,
not
so
really.
you don't need to have a specialized browser.
Yeah, but not really going through us. You're going through a bot that's spawned by us. So technically, if the bot was spawned by someone else and not our server, it's the same thing. So it's it just so
So it's literally a proxy.
it
Yeah,
literally
it's
is a proxy,
It's a
but
peer-to-peer proxy. Yeah.
it's a peer-to-peer proxy though.
Okay.
So imagine right now all the proxy itself is handling the request, but what if the proxy itself is asking a peer to handle the request? See that?
So like the proxy is just a tracker, and then people
Yeah.
can volunteer their computers or whatever to proxy traffic from vanilla JavaScript via WebSockets to actual sockets.
Yep.
So it's like a bridge.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
We mirror the infrastructure using the WebRTC. Yeah, no, the
WebTorrent.
WebTorrent protocol.
Ooh, nice.
WebTorrent used to have the same problem where they have the problem where their native client and the browser client cannot talk to each other because they have the same problem. They are not talking in the same, because the browser client has a lot of restriction. So what they did was they made the exact same thing called WebTorrent hybrid that basically act as a proxy that when the client from the browser trying to get some file from a pool basically, then some hybrid client that are both running browser and also torrent node can voluntarily grab that and return the request. So that's how you now have a lot of streaming, like torrent streaming side now, so you're welcome. I did not make that though, but I mean, you should take a look, it's very interesting. Yeah, and because the usage of this Rotondo is mainly synchronizing or pulling from a lot of Git repo, it's very slow. But if you subscribe to about 100 people, it gets slow real quick. And yeah, every time you start up, and people post stuff, right? You have to synchronize, you have to pull out, and the way it sucks. So yeah, it's a cool project though. So hopefully it will. And it's actually one of the more interesting design social media out there. So And the next protocol is
Here we go.
Scuttlebot. Ooh, Scuttlebot, what is it? Well, it has the same component as any decentralized protocol, decentralized protocol, very similar to that protocol. The one thing that it doesn't do though, it doesn't versioning stuff. So it is a kind of like it learned from that, but it doesn't want to. So that was made to become more of an archive system, right? They want everything to be versioned. They want an internet that has versioning. That's why they have sponsors from the Internet Archive, so that they can so they can archive shit. IPFS is fine too, but they're trying to make the file shit. That's why people are like, we don't want
I
to.
did not understand what you just said.
Oh, I mean, Filecoin is fine, and they have that IPFS is fine, but then they have that Filecoin initiative that people like are.
There's like a whole sort of penumbra of like projects around IPFS which never seem to really work.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
It's kind of disappointing.
the client side API is usable, but then it's stuck, and then it was depending on WebRTC.
And like I tried to set up like a IPNS, like register,
Oh, okay. Name server.
an IPFS
DNS.
domain or something.
Yeah.
But it I looked everywhere and it's like there's like, oh yeah, use IPNS. And I looked everywhere, but there's nothing you can actually. It's like vaporware at this point.
Yeah.
You can't actually use it.
And the API changes all the time, it deprecates, and like they, instead of like supporting the previous API, they just completely like,
Yeah.
It's not. It's
Oh,
like
that's
not
not
even
good.
an alpha stage at this point. It's like pre-alpha.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, it was.
oh, I guess that's why,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I mean, he assumed that.
But yeah, I don't want to finish your sentence, and you were probably going to say this, but Scuttlebutt is less about archiving and more about just like gossip.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
that's
it's literally a gossip network.
That's their whole like.
That's the
shtick.
first sentence they have on the header. But yeah, want to read more about this protocol? This Scuttlebutt protocol. How it works? Well,
They have this whole thing where it's like they want the architecture of the network to mimic real-world social networks where, people, word of mouth stuff.
Exactly. So you only
Which is like-
subscribe to the person you meet,
Well, on the one hand, it's an interesting concept, but on the other hand, it's like, is that really better?
You never know, but we'll see. But basically, to talk about the Dossier infrastructure, you have the new user, you're the new user, and that's a pub. What's a pub? A pub is a public user that is available for everyone to subscribe to. And it acts like a server. And it literally is a server. Usually it's a server, it's a bot. It's very similar to the hybrid that we have, the WebRTC hybrid. That basically is a bridge that allows you to join a network. And so when you join a pub, you can now contact with other people. And then if the pub no other user, you now join a larger network. So that's basically how it works. And assuming that the pub is clean, it's not just a silly bot, or if the pub is well maintained, then you can actually have a bunch of, you can talk to a lot of cool people on top of that. Yeah, so here's a link to the protocol. It is decentralized, it's function offline, and that's the cool part about that. You can do everything social media offline, and then when you go online, it will synchronize to your network. It is a mesh net system. I think they have plans to implement a bunch of
What if you change something and when you get back online, the state of the network has already changed? So who do they accept?
oh, it's everything.
Like a merge conflict?
That's
Well,
what happens.
Well, like you can do something like bad too, like you can pretty much edit somebody's post while you're offline, and then when you try
Well, you would need their private key to make a signature, so you couldn't do that.
oh, okay.
You
Yeah.
couldn't edit someone's post.
So you don't have access to yours.
Yeah, and the reason why is because of cryptography.
It's signed by the original poster.
yeah. So everything is signed.
Oh, I see, it's from New Zealand, that's why it's weird.
Yeah, this guy, maybe. Well, yeah, basically, right. If I don't think there'll be conflict, right? Because messages are unique per user, and then the key are unique per user. Maybe
You could, I guess. Oh no, never mind.
I mean, even different device will probably generate different hash per message, and then the timestamp is probably also contribute to the factor too. And then it's a social media, right? So it's not really changing the same code, but you're more adding onto it than editing stuff. I suppose if you need to edit something, they need to be online. But then the moment you submit your edit to a certain thing, you have to be online. You have to.
Maybe it's just a vendor only.
No, it do allow you to edit stuff though. So well, even apparently, I think that also now has. Yeah, that doesn't have overriding. It does allow you to prune the stuff though. You can actually prune history in that.
Hmm.
So
That's cool. How? That's weird.
Oh, because you control the file, so you just prune it and tell people, hey, here's the latest version, and everyone can just clone it, right?
Oh.
I mean, if they made a copy of your stuff before they clone it from you, then yeah,
You
they
would
still
of
have
course have
access
it,
to
but
your
if
stuff.
right.
But well, yeah, and well, what's the problem with this network? It's super slow. Yep, that's expected. Because as any decentralized network, you have to synchronize with every single one.
Yeah, there's
So-
actually a phone, there's like an Android app called Matter, no,
Mattermost.
no, that can't be it.
Well, it does have a mobile client. He made it. So the way he did it, he actually ported his entire Scuttlebot protocol into an Android client. He has a giant roadmap. I'm talking about this guy, this is Andres. He has a giant roadmap to make a social media on top of mobile and.
It's called Miniverse, sorry, like Miniverse.
Was it the same thing? Was it made by this guy? Was it made by? was it
Mini
published
is
by?
in a lot,
Was it made by Andres?
I don't know, probably.
If it's that guy, then that's probably the thing. But yeah, it's an entire roadmap to actually, so in terms of the mobile side of this project, the Scuttlebot protocol has been ported to Android into like some kind of a usable binary and exposed as a React Native component, so that you can actually, if you can make a React Native app, you can actually install this component and make an app that run on top of this Scuttlebot protocol.
It says it was made by Andre Stoltz.
Yeah, that's a god right there. Yeah, he may be god though. I mean, even Dan, retweeted him. So
Dan?
Yeah,
Apple?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Anyway, and then the other thing is you need special software to access the protocol. This protocol is not even, I don't think they even care about trying to integrate that to Chrome browser or any browser, unlike DAD. DAD is trying hard to get themselves into Firefox now, and hopefully they can be, you can think of that, you can think of DAD as a HTTPS or HTTP or, you know, TCP, UDP, oh no, not TCP, HTTP, more of a, you know, the accessing protocol.
Application layer.
Application layer.
I find it disheartening that like people can't like just, you know, run random software on their own devices. Because you always have to get it from, you know, like the Apple Store or the Play Store or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you can just, you know, get it through other channels, but it don't make it easy to do that per se.
Well, if you want to, you
Like
can.
everybody has a browser, so it's like they want everything to be through the browser, but browsers are based around a certain assumption about the network architecture, and it doesn't always work very well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason is security. Right? That's basically the main reason.
I mean, yes, for security purposes, usually most users, you know, just downloading and executing random apps is probably not a good idea, but
It's also for money. I mean,
but it's like, are you protecting the users from themselves? Or
Yeah.
are you protecting them from, you know, that's the question.
Protecting them from themselves.
I think it's protecting themselves because most people have no idea. Like my dad has like, well he had, I got rid of them, but like 30 like adware apps on his Android phone because, yeah.
I think what we should allow for is somewhere deep in the, you know, developer settings of a phone, you can choose, okay, to make advanced options. For example, if a certain button does something to allow you, if you get into that setting, allow you to change it. So as long as,
But it's just like he said though,
Or
that
the-
like even from the Play Store, you get, you know, hundreds and thousands of just crappy apps which aren't like, you know, it's like they're not outright malware,
yeah,
but it's like, you know, there's the Candy Crush and the, you know, whatever
But Candy Crush is a legitimate
Stuff.
application.
So I got rid of all those apps.
system disk cleaner or whatever.
And I installed Brave browser on my dad's phone. No ads anymore, and no apps. It's amazing, like because it has an ad blocker.
Yeah. Back to Brave browser and the AT coin. How's AT coin going? Huh? What is it? Is that Action Coin or something? ABT.
You're
ABT.
missing
right?
some emoji there.
Oh yeah. I mean the emoji is dead.
You
but-
got tofu.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, you can see that, right? Here's a conclusion that I think that I made from this.
Great emoji.
So next gen is available. It's out there. You can use it.
I feel like Mastodon gives us hope because it's actually very successful,
Yeah, for the furry community.
especially in Japan.
Yeah, that's true though. Yeah, Japan love it. They move all the Twitter shit over to Mastodon for some reason. I don't know, but they love it a lot. Censorship, maybe, right? A lot of the censorship problem could be fixed if we switch over to, you know, structures that are harder to you know, to bomb, to attack.
right.
Speed shit. So that's why there's cool emoji there. And then the rest. Oh, so can you get viral on this network? Maybe in the long run, maybe not. Probably not, because for a lot of these networks, you are expected to join a certain pool. So you might not reach millions of people
I don't know.
anytime soon.
I think I recently made a post on my Paroma server which got like 20 reposts or something.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Hey, that's not lifted viral, man.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
You go viral, you get when you get a million likes, tell me. I'll say, oh yeah, that's what it is. Well, privacy is also a concern. A
Oh,
lot
yeah,
of
see, 21 reboosts.
Wow.
Hey, you know the video that I posted on Facebook like a week ago? We got 2,000 views now. 2,000 views. We actually got nice share and 3 commands on different groups. So maybe shout out to Facebook for that. Anyway, privacy is another problem, right? Well, at least
To
a
me,
lot of
that's-
these network, you own it. Some of the network you own data, some of the network maybe not because, you know, the servers stuff on the data.
To me, that's like the most important one, personally.
Privacy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people cool stuff under the concept, right? Yeah. And then if this, are they future proof? Well, yeah, when they viral, I'll say they future proof. Cost? Yeah, a lot of them. You have to brand your stuff, right? A lot of this community has to spend the money, spend server money to host the server for people to join. So the cost, yeah, maybe, right? Eventually, hopefully, the hope is the taxpayer might actually pay for this. Maybe, I don't know.
No, why would we want that?
Then you have, talking about free.
That's interesting.
Free social media. Come on, man. I mean, community
It's not
should-
free, 'cause
That's-
the taxpayers paying for it.
Well, okay, but it's a public.
Oh, the cost
It's a public good.
is a public thing.
What people.
It's like it's a library, right? So
That's
instead of
interesting.
like paying tax to maintain a library, you can just break the library down, someone use it, and let's host everything on that, for example. Then pay for that.
I mean,
Or
why not make it
library
like cryptocurrency, like, so every time you,
Hey, I make a fun right? Pay for that.
What were you saying?
oh, can you like, so every time you host data, every time you're being a seed, you get some kind of coin, and then every time you be a leaker, you give some
Well,
kind of coin?
it's a
Final
con-
point.
that's a concept besides Filecoin, yeah.
Yeah.
But then the problem is, right? Does people want that? Would it even make more money than this app? If that's the thing.
I mean, so it can like maintain the economic side, because otherwise there wouldn't be any incentive to host it.
No, that's the thing though. There's actually a trial where they test that versus the. So there's a thing called what's it? Another Filecoin, another currency that's based on file hosting. I forgot the name of it. But
Made Safe is one of them, I believe.
and then there's another one, web something. It has the interface already. But basically, if you look at some of the website that for file sharing, for example, MegaShare. Is it now MegaShare now or something else?
Does MegaShare still up? They like exist?
There's something else called Mega something, right?
Mega.nz.
Yeah, Mega.nz.
It used to be called Mega Upload, and now like the government's like no thanks, and now
Yeah.
they like Mega that.
Mega never works for me. Like
So-
anytime there's a link to Mega, like I try to download it and it's like, oh, your download will begin in 3 hours.
Well, you did register for it, but
No, you gotta pay for the
but the
premium.
point is right. The point is to answer
I
your
don't
question
get
though
it.
is so that one is using a subscription base and they make money though, and then you have like like Mega, all the other sharing system where they mainly show ad and it work well. And a lot of them are free too.
I mean,
So-
yeah, that's the thing. There's always someone is always paying the cost. It's just a question of how do you create the either reduce the cost so much that it costs basically nothing and people will just run it because they're altruistic and it's like, oh, I'm paying like $5 a month. It's not that much.
I think they should get rewarded for running it.
What about Google Drive? I guess Google makes their money from like ads.
I think
Like,
You have limited, you have
There
cap.
can be,
Other things.
I'm saying that like there can be like a variety, there can be like a diversity of different
Yeah,
money
definitely.
models.
No, I mean, the process of using tags, you just like,
Well, that's to create the infrastructure and maintain the infrastructure.
yeah.
But like you're not gonna like I feel like if you do like Filecoin and stuff,
Mhm.
then like people using this network like will have to pay for both the internet and then now also accessing websites. I feel like for like people that are like disenfranchised and stuff, that will like really limit what you can do on the internet.
I mean, the thing is, when you host something, you also get paid for hosting.
What do you mean?
Like you can access the file and pay coins to access the file, where you can host it, and then have somebody who accesses the file from you to be a seed. When you send someone a file, they send you coins. So it kind of
So,
kind
here's
of
the thing
balances
though, right?
out.
It's very hard to enforce money on that. Imagine, if you're the only guy who's hosting the file, anyone can DDoS you and take it out. If they want to censor you, right? So,
Yeah.
you have to maintain that, so.
The thing is, like, to have a large user
Yeah,
base.
so now if you have a large, let's say you have a large user base, a lot of people seeding, right?
Yeah.
Then why would they give you money, right? Right, everyone who's seeding should get the money, right?
I mean, no.
But then if the
like-
network is too big, then the
No,
money
it
will
depends.
spread out.
So the person will like have his own algorithm, like selecting who to download the file from, and then like if it'll all be distributed sort of random. So it'll be kind of like a normal distribution. It will be randomly distributed, and like in the long term, you will get just as much money as the other person who's seeing the same file.
You can definitely implement that structure on top of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because
Mm.
when you send a certain transaction from a person to another person, you're also sending a little bit of money.
Yeah.
So
I'm saying.
that can be done too. And actually, I did that for. I made a project. Fuck time. I made a project called WebRTC Ethereum that allow you to. So it's not sending money, but it's sending data. So you send data to another person using the transaction, using the payload. There's a small. Yeah, besides, so in a transaction, there's a small snippet that allow you to post some data, arbitrary data into that.
Or you can have like when you send something, you have to process two other persons there, kind of.
But like there are also, I've seen recently that there have been people that are like they're embedding the social media data directly into, like, in this case I've seen them on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain, because Bitcoin Cash is the one that I follow most closely. They could be on other ones, but there are projects like memo.cash and yours.org,
Mm.
which I think switched to Bitcoin SV, but let's
Oh,
not talk
really?
about that
They
right
did?
now.
That's so
But,
sad.
But like essentially what they're doing is like they're embedding their like data for their feed into just an op return, right? So they're just putting data like posts and responses and likes and stuff into transactions.
That
And, like,
sounds really gross.
so like, yeah, I don't really like it that much, but like, it makes sense kind of, because like you have one censorship resistant, system that's proven to work already.
Are they hashing it all, or are they like? Is it just literally just plain text? On
Like
the-
if you want everybody to see that like you posted, I went to the beach today, you make a transaction where the op return plain text is I went to the beach today. Some
It-
special tag that like says this is a memo post or whatever.
What? Oh my God, that's a lot of data.
Yeah, it's all data because you have to also send the key.
It's not scalable.
I mean, if the miners are
any
willing to
means.
mine it, then that's their choice, but
You know what? And the problem is
it's not scalable, no.
The
Well,
problem is a lot
I
of
mean, a
power.
better thing, and this is easy, just to have the hash, and then a tag, and then give
But then the
yours the actual content that will hash to
data, the
that.
data still has to be hosted somewhere.
Yes,
like,
right,
It
right.
has to be hosted, embedded somewhere.
Anyway, that's it. That's the talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
Awesome.
nice talk.